Hey guys, welcome back. This will be example 2. So now this looks a little bit different, but it's really no different as long as the whole time you've been thinking what happened to X and in what order. So the difference here you can see the X isn't being squared. There's a couple things being squared here. Now I don't want you to go to your box method and expand this out because that would actually make this much harder. This we can solve right now. So you look at it, first it was X, and then they subtracted 1, then they squared, okay? So this problem is actually going to have a couple things coming up in it, so you may need to watch this a couple times, but let's just start going through it. The last thing that happened was it was squared, so I need to do the opposite of squaring, which is square root. If I do it to one side, I do it to the other. The square root and the square cancel, so I'm left with X minus 1 equals the square root of 25. Hopefully you have this one memorized and you know that the square root of 25 is 5. But since I introduced it, it's technically positive or negative 5. Okay? Now you're going to see some teachers do this in different ways. That's why I'm going to show you right now. As long as you can, keep it like this. Don't break it into two separate problems until you have to. Right now I can write X minus 1 equals positive or negative 5, and that's fine. So I'm going to do that. I've undone the square by square rooting. Now I have to undo the subtract 1 by adding 1. Okay? So I'm at X equals. Now this is where it's just a couple things come up how you want to write it. Put the 1 up front. So instead of using this as an adjective, a positive or negative 5, think of it as adding or subtracting 5. So I start with 1, and I can add or subtract 5 to get to my answer. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. I know this says plus minus 5 and then plus 1. I'm going to rewrite that as my 1 up front and then add or subtract 5 to get your answer. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, make sure you come see me during our office time or just email me. Now I'm going to actually get two answers because plus minus two different verbs. So X could equal 1 plus 5 or X can equal 1 minus 5. Okay. Then we're going to get the rest of our answers. So X could equal 6 or X could equal negative 4. I'm going to write that a little bit neater. Sorry. Okay. And both of them work. And I think this one's important to go back and show why they both work. Okay. So we have our answers. We have all our work here. You can come back and look at it if you want. I'm going to erase all the work because I want to go back and show why these work. Well, let's review the work real quick. It was X minus 1 squared equal 25. The opposite of squaring is square rooting, so I had to square root both sides. The square root and the squared cancel. That left me with X minus 1 equals positive or negative 5. I had to add 1 to both sides. Now I wanted to rewrite it with my plus minus on the back side of my problem. So that way I know I take 1 plus 5 or 1 minus 5. And then we got our two answers. Now I'm going to go back up top to the original problem, and I'm going to show you how plugging those in works just fine. Our original problem was X minus 1 squared equals 25. So let's try 6. 6 minus 1 squared should equal 25. 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 squared is 25. We are in business. So that one checks out. We are good. X equals 6 checks out. Now let's check X equals negative 4. And I'm sorry if I'm speaking quickly, but I know my time's almost up. So negative 4 minus 1 squared equals 25. Negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. Now remember, negative 5 squared becomes a positive. So now negative 5 squared is 25 equals 25, and we're set. Okay? So both of those answers work, and it should make sense from the beginning because remember, whenever you have a power of 2, you can have up to 2 answers. You don't have to have 2 answers, but you could have 2 answers. Okay? So the only difference in this problem was when you take the square root. And this is where you're going to have to notice the difference between the last couple problems, okay?